This time we turn to developing our budget for our projects by inputting the cost of all of our various resources, as well as some additional costs that may occur during your project. Steps that we'll be going through in order to develop your budget for your projects. Step one is inputting your standard and overtime rates for your work resources or your human resources. The second step is inputting the per unit cost for your material resources. Number three is inputting the cost of your cost resources. And step number four is looking at fixed costs. And then step five is baselining your project. And number six, never forget to save it. So those are the 6 steps that we'll be going through. And again, within Microsoft Project, it is always critical that you follow these steps in this order. So with that, let's turn to our project that we've been working on. So here we have our little project that we've been working on throughout this set of videos. And where we will want to turn to first is the resource sheet. If you recall, when we were inputting the resources in the last video or 2 videos ago, we primarily worked in these first 6 columns. This time we'll be working in these 2 columns pretty much exclusively, so be aware of that. And if you go to your in-class example sheet, you'll notice on the back side down at the bottom, we have the standard and overtime rate for our various resources that we have here. The one thing that you should be aware of is that salaried employees do have a standard rate. They do not have an overtime rate, but they do always have a standard hourly rate. And that hourly rate can either be gotten from your PMO that will have that, your project management office, or you can get that from your human resources department normally. So do be aware that salaried employees do have an hourly rate. Your hourly folks have not only an hourly rate, but as well an overtime rate, because if they work over 40 hours per week, they earn that overtime rate. So be aware of that. So our first individual is Tom. Tom is salaried, and he has a rate of 100. So you want to put, if they are salaried, put their hourly rate in the standard rate here. So 100, and click away. And Joe is an hourly employee and has a standard rate of $50 per hour, and then also an overtime rate of $75 per hour. And Alice is salaried at $150 an hour, so let's put $150 an hour in the standard rate here. Betty is an hourly employee, and she is $80 an hour, and her overtime rate is $120 per hour. And then Jackie is salaried at $90 an hour. And with that, we've now entered all of our work resources rate information. Now for our material resources, which if you recall are lines 6 and 7 here, what we want to input in the standard rate column is what the unit price is for each of those. So for wood, we will want to put in what price we are paying for wood in per board foot. And in this case, it's $2.59. And again, for cable, we want to do the same thing, but put in the price per spool of cable, and that would be $50. Now you'll notice that we Microsoft Project doesn't allow us, you can try, but it doesn't allow you to input anything in the resource sheet with regards to your cost resources. So let me show you how that is done. Let's go back to the Gantt chart view. And we have a Bobcat here for work package 3.2.1. You do this in the task information sheet. And when you pull that up, you go to the resource tab up here, and you'll see that the Bobcat is there. And over at this end here is the cost. And the cost of a Bobcat is $200. And it will also show up here. Now, surprisingly enough, you already have your budget at this point. You're probably going, no, I don't. Yes, you do. If you go to the View tab, and you click on the View tab, go to the tables, and go to the Cost table, it will show you your overall budget is $27,911.67. Microsoft Project has automatically figured out or done the multiplication for you for your project. It will also show that deliverable 1 here has a total cost of $14,221.67. Deliverable 2 has an overall cost of $4,090, as well as deliverable 3, which has $96,000 or $9,600 as its cost. So each work package, etc., you can see how much each of your work packages and your overall deliverables are costing you here in this table. Pretty handy, really. You'll also notice that there is this fixed cost column. You can add a fixed cost to your project. For example, say there is insurance that your company has paid, liability insurance for a series of projects that they are doing. The company will probably then prorate out how much of those premiums that they are paying will be assessed against your project. This is where this fixed cost comes into play. And you can add it in here in one of those areas, in one of the last ones here or one of the first ones. Let's say that you are being charged $200 for insurance. So add $200 here. And notice that the total up here will change when you click away. And it did. Went to $2,800.11. So one other thing you should do with fixed costs, however, is because fixed costs do not, you just have $200 there. There's really no explanation for what it is. For the cost resource, we know that $200 is for the Bobcat. We know why we are spending that money on each of the various human resources or work resources as well as material resources, but there's really no place in Microsoft Project that tells me what that $200 is. And what you may want to do is add a note to that particular task that you added the $200, and that again is done in the task information sheet under the notes column. And I'll put in here $200 for insurance premiums. And click OK. And with that, we have now develop our budget for our project. One other thing we need to do is baseline our project. Baselining our project, what we're really doing is taking a picture of what we have created at this point. This here is pretty much at the end of your planning process. Once the plan has been approved by the sponsor and all the necessary, everybody has signed on the dotted line, you should baseline your project and take a picture of what you have created. This will then be used during the execution phase to determine whether or not you are on schedule or on budget. So how do we go about doing that? You'll see that there is this baseline column, and right now it is filled with zeros. We don't do it there. We go up to the project tab, and you'll see set baseline icon, and we're going to set the baseline. And yes, Microsoft Project allows you to set up 10 different baselines for your project. We'll just go and do this one. We want to do it for the entire project. And when I click OK, you will see that this column now will fill in. And it did. And so we have now baselined our project. We have taken a permanent picture, which we can then use to determine whether we are over budget or under budget for any particular task or deliverable, and whether or not it is on schedule or behind schedule. Part of the next video, which is earned value management. One last thing to do, save it. Never forget to save it, and always save it as a read-only document. And again, how you do that, go to Tools, go General Option, click on Read Only, and I'm going to do Example. And with that, we have now completed the budget section, or inputting the budget for our project. I'd like to thank you for watching this video, video number 8. This kind of concludes the planning portion for how to use Microsoft Project during the planning of your project. There will be a couple of additional videos added that will look at how to utilize earned value management in Microsoft Project, as well as how to create reports will be the last of the videos. So again, thank you and good luck as you work within Microsoft Project.